Hey guys, my name's Ravi Sharma and I am the founder and buyer's agent here at Search Property. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Search Property TV. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon and leave me a like, because then the YouTube algorithm can do its magic and let this video out to the people that really need it. Now, today's news is huge. It's huge on so many levels, and I don't want to beat around the bush. I want to get right down to the point. I don't want to waste time talking about fluff. I do want to give you context, but I do want to get across exactly what is happening and how things are moving quite quickly. So if you're interested in property, if you're interested in passive income and financial independence, smash that subscribe button and let's jump straight in. So today, really big news came out was that New South Wales is planning to actually abolish stamp duty properly. This isn't just we're thinking about doing it. No, they've got a proper plan and they actually want to implement this. So they also announced the budget deficit for the state government. We've always been acclimatized to understanding that there's a federal budget, and that was in the deficit that got announced in October, I believe. And so now the New South Wales government announced their deficit. And of course, they're providing so much support as well in terms of stimulus. And this is all just going to find its way into devaluing our currency. I've been talking about this on the channel for so long. A lot of smart people around the world, like Robert Kiyosaki, are also talking about this on the daily. So if you aren't paying attention because you think, well, what does this guy know? There are other people a lot smarter than me that are actually talking about this as well. Now, obviously on this channel, I focus on Australian economy and the Australian real estate market. So of course, I'm giving you the spin off what happens in the Australian context, whereas those guys might just be focusing on the US markets. Now, why it's important in understanding what this deficit looks like is really around the effects it can have and the flow-on effects it can have to the economy itself. Now, we're going to jump in to understanding why the New South Wales government will actually abolish stamp duty come next year and what effects they will have. I'll also share my thoughts along the way, but at the end of the video, I will also give you a summary of the entire thing, but of course, my thoughts and what I think is the best way to prepare for what is about to happen. Home buyers in New South Wales are set to save tens of thousands of dollars on their purchase as the state undertakes one of its biggest tax reforms in removing stamp duty. This is going to be massive. Treasurer Dominic Perrottet, sorry mate, announced the reform as Australia's biggest state grapples with a $16 billion budget deficit. Dominic said stamp duty will now be optional, with buyers given the option between paying a large property tax up front or a smaller annual land tax on new property transactions. The state government estimates the policy shift will add $11 billion to New South Wales economy over 4 years. So just when you thought stamp duty, is going to be abolished, but we don't actually have to pay anything else, well, no. You're going to be introduced with a yearly tax, which was sort of spoken about a few months ago, but now it's actually, finding its form and exactly how it's going to be implemented. The tax would be set as a fixed rate in addition to a rate applied to the unimproved land value. So this is where it's just based on the value of the land. So they don't care if there's a $1 million mansion on it. It's just on the value of the land, which is very important. And once the property becomes subject to the new tax, future owners will also pay the tax. Okay, great. Owner-occupied homes would attract a lower rate of tax than investment properties, but Dominic said there would be also protections against landlords subsequently hiking rental rates. Okay, so it's interesting because basically what they're suggesting is as soon as they announce these new land tax laws or these new rates, what they may actually do is the landlords may push that onto the tenants to actually pay an increased rent. And so they obviously want to put in protection places in there so that they protect the tenants. The Treasurer said the state's centuries-old tax stamp duty structure needed an update, but the state government will consult with the community on its proposed model until March. Okay, so this seems like it's probably going to come out in Q2 or Q3 of next year. I believe it's going to probably be around that July time. They love to work with the 1st of July being the new financial year. The median value of Sydney home is $860,955, with stamp duty adding as much as $34,372 to the cost of purchasing. Dominic noted that while it took 1 year to save stamp duty in 1990, it now takes on average 2.5 years. That is massive. And that's obviously got to do with two things. One, a lack of wage growth, and two, asset price inflation of these properties. Under the plan, first home buyers who would previously have been eligible for stamp duty concessions will instead receive $25,000 grants. Holy crap. Now, guys, this is the first time I'm reading about this, and I wanted to capture it live so that we're obviously getting a real reaction here. But that is massive on so many levels. We're going to deconstruct it very soon. This is the reform we need to implement, Dominic said, adding that he hopes to have stamp duty overhauled quickly. When it comes to our economy and the biggest impediment on economic growth, the number one area of states are taxes. I 100% agree. Particularly inefficient taxes that stifle economic growth like payroll tax, but the worst, which we've been speaking about for some time, is stamp duty. It is impediment to home ownership. Those who have already bought a home and who have already paid stamp duty on the purchase will not be impacted by the new plan. So they just get grandfathered into it. Okay, so what does this all mean? Yes, we basically will save a lot of money by not having to pay stamp duty on new purchases. But what they're essentially saying as well is that on new purchases, they will be given the option of whether they want to pay the full-on stamp duty upfront, or they opt for the ongoing plan, which is basically an ongoing tax that's in relation to the unimproved value of the land or property itself. So just the land value, and that gets paid every single year. So that's going to eat up more at your cash flow. So the way you've got to look at it is go on step one is going, if you pay stamp duty, that is your initial upfront capital. Versus if you want to take more of an option with cash flow being, the one that's affected because you pay a tax every single year. It's very similar to when you buy a phone on a plan versus buying it outright. Buying it outright might be cheaper because you get to just pay it up front. But when you find that you can buy the phone outright and have like a bring your own phone, buy SIM only plans, that actually works out cheaper than having a phone on a plan, which is say like $150 per month, but it allows you to have the plan plus the phone gets paid off over 2 years. Now, when you do the comparison between the two, the plan works out more expensive. The reason they do that is because people don't have the upfront capital for that. Now, in this case, it's the exact same thing. We're going to have a situation where people don't want to be able to pay the capital upfront because now, hey, I don't have to save an extra $30,000 to buy a home in Sydney. I can just buy one now. What this looks like, in my opinion, is that it will increase the mobility of people. What that means is it means when people are transacting on property, they will do that a lot quicker than what they could previously. Because when you're going in and you're trying to flip a house, or when you're trying to sell a house, you're going, okay, well, I need to consider the fact that stamp duty was a payment I made. It was a cost involved with purchasing the property. So you've got to go, well, if I sell it for $100K more, but I paid $20,000 in stamp duty, well, my profit's only $80,000. So now if you abolish that and now you only pay like $2,000 a year, now you might be in a position where you're going to actually flip homes a lot quicker. So now we're going to see the rise, real rise of these developers, these homegrown developers, where you could go in, purchase a property, build a duplex, sell it, and you won't have to pay as much stamp duty. The added part of this, and this is the biggest part, the biggest implication of this is asset price inflation. We are effectively going, if homeowners, first homeowners can get $25,000 grants, which apparently you could use in refurbishing the actual property, means that you're actually going, I can go out, buy a house, and I'll get the grants in terms of first home buyer grants, and then I'll get $25,000 extra to now go and buy my furniture. On the very surface level of this, we're thinking, okay, well, that's great for homeowners, right? It is certainly great. However, it depends on what side you're on. If you want to live the 99% of the population life, then go for it. This is amazing news. Turn off the video now. That's amazing. But if you want to live the 1% life, you need to understand how this works. Because a lot of developers are now honestly just going to add whatever the stamp duty cost was going to be into the price of the actual property. Now we're artificially creating a bubble in the property sector. Now we are in a position where properties in the area have now just instantly gone up by $25,000 because, hey, if someone else now wants to buy it, they can afford to pay the extra amount. And this is very dangerous. I think it's dangerous on the front that we are artificially increasing the value of property. I've never been a big fan of anything like that. I know that stimulus and bringing in, lowest cash rate and, having interest rates so low, I know that cheap debt is going to increase the amount of pricing for houses in the area. I get that. But in this case, we're artificially doing it on a whole new level. It's like on steroids. I think other states will follow. In the overarching part of, the policy itself, I think what's going to happen is they'll increase GST. I think we are seeing a lot more in terms of business stimulus. So they're really focusing on small and medium business and enterprises. And the reason they do that is because if the small can survive and they're able to then now hire one person, it's about job creation. That's, at the end of the day, that is what it is. If we're able to reduce the tax that the small businesses have to pay, well, now they've got surplus income to now potentially go and increase and scale their business by hiring more people. But you've got to see how this affects you, right? Everyone's different. Everyone's in a different phase of life. So if you're about to go out and buy property, do you now wait? Do you now think, well, do I wait and then the stamp duty gets abolished and then I can jump in? Does that affect prices moving forward? Or maybe you already have property and now you're going, well, if $25,000 people don't have to pay for stamp duty and first home buyers are jumping in, does that mean my property is now valued for more? Because it costs less to buy, right? So there's now more people available with that sort of cash to go in, and that increases demand. If we increase demand and now there's this increase in, mobility because people can now downsize, it really leads to a more efficient economy because now people will not just hold on to a property and go, well, okay, I don't want to buy in something else because I've got to pay extra for the stamp duty component. It does mean it's more efficient. The annual tax itself, of course, the government always wins. They're going to make so much more money by having everyone pay yearly. And this is honestly a big step towards how I've been saying that property portfolios of massive proportion and scale are not going to be possible in 3 to 5 years. They are implementing these things to only really assist first home buyers. The reason they do that, and here's the biggest hack, the biggest secret, right? It's not really a secret because I talk about it on my channel all the time, is that the reason why they will pump so much money into first home buyers and assisting homeowners, they've got lower rates for them as well. The reason they do that is because they become tax slaves. You have no choice but to work 30 years to pay off the loan. Now, if I was an investor and I go in and purchase a property, well, I've got the tenant paying it, so I don't really care if I work a salary job or I don't, because I've got someone else paying for that. However, if you now own the property, you have to work. If you work, it means you have to go catch public transport maybe, or drive in your car to work, means now you have to spend money on petrol or public transport. Then you get to work. Now maybe you've got to get a coffee, or maybe you've got to get lunch. Well, that supports the local businesses. And now you're going to work, you're getting paid, you're paying the tax. Then a large portion of that money gets paid towards the bank and the interest repayments, and that's how the cycle works. It's a death trap. So I really see this being a huge move for New South Wales, but I think it's a real taste of what's to come. It's been happening for the last 6 months. So much support for the housing sector and really focused on first home buyers and owner occupiers. I don't know if it's still a good move to wait. I think there's more information that will come out, further analysis, I guess. If you do want a detailed video, I just wanted to give you a high level on this, but if you want a detailed video, I'm talking 30 to 40 minutes of economics about how this is really gonna affect you and potentially the property market in Australia, then definitely leave a comment down below. All you have to say is, I want that video. That's it. Don't make it pretty, don't make it flush, just say, I want that video, maybe just add an emoji. But I really want to understand what you think is going to happen. What are your thoughts on them scrapping the stamp duty? Are you going to opt for, if you had the option of purchasing, would you go for the upfront stamp duty cost? Or would you go for more of an annual land tax? Because one's the cash flow play, one's the capital play. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. If you want extra support, you want extra sort of communication, join the private Facebook group. I've been saying it in every video, so you should definitely do so. There's a link in the description below, or simply search passive income and Australian real estate tips. Definitely join me on there. I've got actually some really exciting news coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm going to share it there first. So I'll definitely see you guys on the inside. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.